I've seen the world change. Here's what never changes. Part 1. Changes in society over time. I've seen the world change in ways I never imagined. When I was a child, the world felt small. The streets were quieter, the technology far more simple. No phones, no TV, just the sound of a radio crackling in the corner of a room. I didn't realize it at the time, but the world was already changing, and so was I. I was born in a different era. A time when neighbors still knew each other by name, and the idea of personal space was simply unheard of. People lived on the same street for generations, and the only thing that changed in our small town was the passing of the seasons. It was a time of innocence, and in many ways, a simpler time. But that simplicity, as beautiful as it was also fragile. My parents, like so many others, lived through the Great Depression. I remember my mother telling me about those days, about the lines for food, the cold winters, the uncertainty that hung in the air like a shadow. But even then, they found ways to come together. My family wasn't wealthy, but we had something far more valuable: each other. There's a certain magic in memories from those times. The black and white photos of my parents in their youth, their eyes filled with hope despite the hardships. Family dinners weren't just about food, they were about survival, about making sure we held on to what mattered, even in the hardest of times. I remember my grandmother, an immigrant who arrived in this country with nothing but her courage and her faith, sitting at the table telling us stories about the old world, about the importance of family. Fast forward to today, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a family that still gathers together for those long dinners. The world moves fast. Everyone is busy. We text each other instead of talking, send messages instead of writing letters. We have everything at our fingertips, and yet we've never felt more disconnected. Technology has brought us closer in some ways, but in other ways, it's created a distance between us. We're all connected, but are we truly connecting? Back then, we communicated with our voices, with our presence. A letter, a phone call, an evening spent in conversation. We didn't need an app to know if someone was happy or sad. We could see it in their eyes. Today, we see the world through a screen, and while we may know more about each other than ever before, it sometimes feels like we know less. But despite all these changes, one thing remains constant: the importance of family. The way we connect may be different, but the bond that holds us together hasn't weakened. It's still the same. Whether it's a FaceTime call, a quick message, or an old-fashioned dinner, family is about love, support, and showing up for each other. No matter how the world shifts, we all still long for connection. But despite all these changes, one thing remains constant: the importance of family. The way we connect may be different, but the bond that holds us together hasn't weakened. It's still the same. Whether it's a FaceTime call, a quick message, or an old-fashioned dinner, family is about love, support, and showing up for each other. No matter how the world shifts, we all still long for connection. Family is where we learn our first lessons about love, patience, and kindness. It's where we make our first memories of trust and safety. We pass down our knowledge, our traditions, and our stories to the next generation. Even in the midst of rapid change, this exchange remains sacred. I watched my grandmother hold the same values close, even as the world evolved. She never stopped believing in the power of family, in the importance of being there for one another, no matter the distance or the time. And that's a lesson I carry with me every day. The world will keep changing, that's inevitable. But love, family, and connection are what anchor us in a world that often feels uncertain. These things may evolve, but they'll never be replaced. Because at the end of the day, it's not the gadgets we own, the wealth we acquire, or the fame we achieve. It's the relationships we build that give our lives meaning. Part 2. Facing life's struggles. I remember the stories my parents told me about their struggles. They lived through a time when hope was hard to come by. The Great Depression wasn't just an economic event, it was a challenge to the very spirit of people. The lines for food were long, and the uncertainty in the air was palpable. Yet, even in the midst of that, my parents found a way to endure. They taught me that no matter the storm, we can always find shelter if we stand together. My grandparents had a different struggle, yet one that felt just as real. The Industrial Revolution brought new opportunities, but also new challenges. The working class fought for fair wages, safer conditions, and a voice in a world that often seemed deaf to their needs. I've watched generations fight for what they believe in, for justice, for the freedom to live with dignity. I've seen it through the eyes of my parents, through the hands of those who came before them. My grandparents had a different struggle, yet one that felt just as real. The Industrial Revolution brought new opportunities, but also new challenges. The working class fought for fair wages, safer conditions, and a voice in a world that often seemed deaf to their needs. I've watched generations fight for what they believe in, for justice, for the freedom to live with dignity. I've seen it through the eyes of my parents, through the hands of those who came before them. Over the years, the struggles have shifted. We may not have the same wars or civil rights battles, but we still face challenges. In my lifetime, I've watched people fight against inequality, injustice, and poverty. I've seen doctors and nurses risk their lives to save others, workers fighting for better conditions, and families struggling to stay afloat in uncertain times. And I've watched people rise. Time and again, we face struggles, but what never changes is our resilience, our ability to endure, to rise above it. What is it that keeps us going? What drives us to fight, to push forward, even when things seem impossible? It's hope. It's the belief that tomorrow will be better, that if we just hold on a little longer, we'll make it through. Hope is a flame that has burned in every generation, a light in the darkness. Hope, when coupled with action, is what sparks change. My grandmother wrote letters during the Great Depression, urging her family to hold on. My father, too, was a man of action. He didn't just speak of change. He worked for it every single day. And today, we see it in the movements that call for justice, for equality, for a better world. Today, we have our own struggles. They may look different from the past, but they are just as real. The pandemic has changed the world in ways we could never have imagined, and yet, people have endured. They've learned new skills, found new ways to connect, and in many cases, have come out of it stronger. My daughter once told me that she didn't know how we got through hard times in the past without the tools we have today. But I reminded her, it wasn't the tools. It was the spirit. The same spirit that has carried generations through wars, economic crashes, and societal shifts. Resilience is in our DNA. It's passed down from generation to generation, whether through the stories we tell or the actions we take. We may not have the same struggles as those who lived before us, but their lessons are timeless. They've taught us that hardship is not the end. It's only the beginning of something greater. I've learned that struggles are inevitable. They are a part of life, and no one escapes them. But what matters is how we face them. Do we let them define us, or do we rise above them? Do we let them break us, or do we allow them to build us stronger? Every challenge I've faced has been a teacher. I've learned more from hardship than I ever could from comfort. The struggle doesn't stop us. It's the fuel that pushes us forward. And even as the world changes, one thing remains unchanged: the human spirit. Resilience is something that, no matter how much the world shifts, we will never lose. Part 3. The enduring power of love and friendship. Love. When I was younger, I thought love was a fleeting thing, something that could be found and lost as easily as the changing seasons. But over the years, I've learned that love isn't so much a moment in time as it is a thread that runs through the fabric of our lives. It is the unspoken language between two people, the touch of a hand, the quiet understanding in a shared glance. It is the laughter of friends, the comfort of a loved one during a hard time, the warmth of a family gathered close. Back then, love was expressed in letters, long-distance phone calls, and simple gestures that meant everything. I remember my father sending love letters to my mother while he was away during the war. It wasn't the grand declarations or the fancy gifts, but the sincerity in every word that made those letters something to cherish. His words were a promise, a hope for a future, a belief that no matter what, love would endure. Today, we still express love in different ways. We text, we call, we share moments through social media. It may look different, but the essence is the same. Love is still what connects us. It's still the reason we get up in the morning, why we fight for what's right, and why we keep going even when the world feels uncertain. Love isn't just romantic, it's in the bonds of friendship, too. A true friend is not defined by the number of years you've known them, but by the depth of the connection you share. The friends I made decades ago are still my friends today, though our lives have taken us in different directions. We don't need to see each other every day. We don't even need to speak every week. But when we do reconnect, it's as if no time has passed. That's the magic of friendship, the ability to pick up where we left off, to be there for each other no matter what. I've had the privilege of seeing the way love endures, even through the hardest of times. When my best friend was diagnosed with cancer, we didn't know how much time we had left. But every moment we spent together, we shared love, laughter, and memories. I held his hand during his treatments, and we talked about everything and nothing. And in the end, it wasn't the time we spent together that mattered. It was the love we shared, the way we cared for each other in the quietest, simplest ways. Love transcends time and distance. In every generation, no matter the circumstances, love has been the constant. It's what keeps us grounded in times of crisis. It's the reason we fight for each other, the reason we sacrifice. Whether it's a soldier writing to his partner from the battlefield, or a mother holding her child close during a storm, love has always been there. And it always will be. What's amazing is that love doesn't fade with time. It deepens. It transforms. The love I share with my partner now is not the same as the love we shared when we first met. It's richer, more patient, and more understanding. It's not about grand gestures anymore. It's about the quiet moments, the small acts of kindness, the way we care for each other without needing words. Philosophical reflection. Love, like life, is something that evolves with time. When we're young, we often seek love for validation, for a sense of belonging. But as we grow older, we come to understand that love is not something we get, but something we give. And in giving it, we receive more than we ever could have imagined. Love teaches us patience, understanding, and most importantly, selflessness. As we get older, we realize that love is the greatest treasure we have. It's the one thing that can never be taken from us. Not time, not distance, not even death. The love we give lives on in the hearts of those we touch, and in the memories we leave behind. Love is the quiet force that moves us, the soft breeze that carries us through the hardest of times. It's what binds us together, no matter how much the world changes. Love, in its many forms, remains a constant. And in it, we find our greatest strength. Part 4. The Search for Meaning. When I was younger, I thought I knew what success was. It was in the job you had, the money you made, the status you earned. I chased after these things, thinking they would bring me happiness. I thought that the more I achieved, the more fulfilled I would feel. But with each accomplishment came the inevitable question, is this all there is? I wanted more, but I didn't know what that more was. Growing up, I thought success meant having a career, a family, and a comfortable life. And I worked hard for it, too hard sometimes. I sacrificed my time, my energy, and my peace of mind, all for the hope that I would one day feel complete. But it wasn't until later in life, when I slowed down, that I realized how much I had been missing. As I entered my later years, I began to reflect on my life. I realized that the things I thought mattered, money, titles, and recognition, were fleeting. What truly brought me joy wasn't the things I owned or the accomplishments I could list, but the simple moments that I'd let slip by in the rush of my younger years. Now, I find meaning in the quiet moments, the peace of being present, the feeling of gratitude for what I have, not longing for what I don't. The joy of spending time with loved ones, of knowing that I've made a difference in someone's life, even in small ways. Life's true meaning isn't found in what we achieve, but in the way we live, the kindness we offer, and the connections we make. Meaning is in the relationships we nurture, the friendships that sustain us, the family bonds that ground us, the love that surrounds us. It's in the lessons we pass on to others, the wisdom we share, and the legacy we leave behind. As I reflect on my own life, I realize that true meaning comes not from what we accumulate, but from what we give. Philosophical reflection. Throughout history, philosophers and thinkers have asked the same question. What is the meaning of life? From Socrates to the Buddha, to modern-day thinkers, the answer often returns to the same core truth. That meaning is found in our connections with others, in how we live our values, and in our willingness to contribute to the greater good. It's not in material possessions or fleeting success, but in the love we share, the good we do, and the peace we find within. As I look back, I see how much of my life was spent chasing after things that, in the end, didn't matter as much as I thought they would. And now, in my later years, I've come to understand that the meaning I sought was always there. It was just waiting for me to recognize it. It's in the laughter of a shared meal, the warmth of an embrace, the stories we tell, and the memories we create. These are the moments that shape our lives, the ones that stay with us long after the days have passed. And they remind us that the search for meaning is not something we find in the distance, but in the present. As the sun sets on my life, I know now that I've been seeking the wrong things for too long. I don't need more recognition, more money, or more things. I need more time. More time with the people I love. More time to reflect on the blessings I've had, the lessons I've learned, and the moments that have filled my heart with joy. Philosophical reflection. In our search for meaning, we often look outside of ourselves, thinking that fulfillment lies in things or accomplishments. But as we grow older, we realize that meaning is found within, the way we choose to live, the people we surround ourselves with, and the love we give. This shift in perspective is one of the greatest gifts that time offers us. Meaning is not something we find in the future. It's something we live every day. It's in the moments that seem small, but are in fact the most significant. It's in the love we share, the peace we find, and the contentment that comes from living in alignment with our values. Part 5. Legacy and the importance of what we leave behind. Sometimes, we spend our entire lives chasing after things, not realizing that the things that will last aren't the ones we collect or accomplish for ourselves. It's the love we share, the lives we touch, and the impact we make on the world. Legacy is not about what we leave for others, but what we leave in others. I often wonder, what will I leave behind when I'm gone? Will it be the material possessions I gathered, the work I did, the places I visited? Or will it be the way I made others feel, the stories I passed on, the wisdom I shared? When I was younger, I didn't think much about legacy. I focused on the now, the momentary joys and frustrations of daily life. But as time went on, I began to see the importance of the footprints we leave behind. My grandmother passed away when I was in my 20s, and at her funeral, I realized something profound. It wasn't her house, her jewelry, or her possessions that people remembered. It was the way she made them feel, the warmth of her love, the way she nurtured those around her, the life lessons she passed down with each hug and each word. And that's when I understood. The true measure of a life isn't in the things we have, but in the hearts we touch along the way. Each of us leaves a mark on the world, even if we don't realize it at the time. It's the quiet gestures of kindness, the moments of sacrifice, and the love we give freely that have the most lasting impact. Philosophical reflection. The concept of legacy has been explored by thinkers throughout history. The ancient Greeks believed in the idea of advide, living a life of virtue that benefits others. For them, the highest form of legacy was one that transcended wealth and fame. It was about living a life of integrity and contributing to the greater good. And I believe that's still true today. We live not for ourselves, but for the people whose lives we touch, whose paths we cross. Legacy isn't just about the big, monumental things we do. It's in the everyday choices we make, the way we show up for those who need us, the way we offer a helping hand without expecting anything in return. The true legacy is built in the small moments, in the way we treat others, in how we teach and guide, and in how we choose to love. I remember one summer, when I was in my 50s, I spent a few weeks volunteering at a local shelter. I didn't have much to give, just a few hours a week and a listening ear. But what I learned in those weeks was life-changing. The people I met there had so little, but they shared everything they had. Their lives were full of love and warmth, and it was in the stories they shared with me that I saw the true essence of legacy. The kindness they gave to others, the way they helped one another without hesitation, left an indelible mark on my heart. Legacy is not always grand or dramatic. It's often found in the quiet moments, the hugs, the shared meals, the words of encouragement, the time we take to listen. It's about how we make others feel, how we make them believe in themselves, and how we teach them to carry forward what we've learned. Philosophical reflection. As we age, we begin to see that our legacy is less about what we achieve and more about who we are. It's in the stories we leave behind, the lessons we impart, and the relationships we nurture. The greatest legacies aren't the ones that make headlines or go down in history. They're the ones that touch the hearts of those we love, that echo through the generations that follow. Our legacy lives on through the stories we share, through the people who remember us and carry our lessons forward. It's in the love we give, the kindness we show, and the difference we make in the lives of others. And though we may not see it while we are here, our impact continues long after we're gone. I think about my father often. He wasn't a man of great wealth or fame, but he was a man who believed in the power of love and kindness. He never sought recognition or reward for the things he did, but I know that the people whose lives he touched will never forget him. And now, decades later, I see my children, his grandchildren, living out the same principles of compassion, integrity, and hard work that he instilled in me. That, to me, is the true legacy. It's the ripple effect we create when we live a life of love and service. The greatest legacy we leave behind is not in the things we've acquired or the fame we've achieved. It's in the people we've influenced, the lives we've touched, and the love we've shared. That's what endures. As I sit here, reflecting on my life, I feel a deep sense of peace. I've come to understand that the real measure of a life well lived isn't in what we own, but in what we give away. The love, the wisdom, the kindness we offer to others, that's what lives on, that's what makes us immortal in the hearts of those we leave behind. In the end, when I am no longer here, I hope that the legacy I leave behind will be one of love, of deep, lasting love that touches hearts for generations to come. Because what we leave behind, what truly endures, are the connections we make, the love we share, and the lives we've touched. And that, my friends, is a legacy that will never fade. I have seen the world change in ways I could never have imagined. But as I reflect on the years that have passed, I realize that the things that truly matter haven't changed at all. It's love, connection, kindness, and the legacy we leave behind that endure. And these things, my dear friends, are the things that truly last.